Every single night, my grandmother satisfied her needs by using snakes. Every snake she used would foam at the mouth and die shortly afterward, until one day she caught a pure white snake with a strange bulge on its head. The white snake then spoke in human language. "Dear elder sister, you are my very last trial to overcome. If you choose to spare my life today, I will make your family the wealthiest in the entire land." My grandmother clearly understood the difference between a single meal and a lifetime of feasts. She nodded in agreement. The great white snake flashed with golden light and then vanished without a trace. But starting from that very same day, grandmother became crazily obsessed with making coffins. Our family's coffins could not only preserve a woman's youthful beauty forever, but could also restore a man's lost vigor and strength. Every single day, a steady stream of people came to our door begging for a coffin. Because of this, our family became the richest one in the entire village. But when I turned 9 years old, large patches of bruises suddenly began appearing all over my body. My grandmother, who had made coffins her entire life, took just one look, and then announced to everyone that she was washing her hands of the business for good. From that day forward, she would never make another single coffin. And it was also around that same time, the bruises on my body mysteriously and completely disappeared. I also asked my grandmother why my illness got better, right after she stopped making coffins, but she looked at me with a serious expression and told me, "Your illness is not cured at all. Because you are fundamentally a dead person. The life you have right now was stolen by me." My grandmother's words scared me half to death. For a moment, I had absolutely no idea what to say. But my grandmother looked at me with a completely serious face. "You are not considered a truly living person just yet. If you want to survive, you must inherit my skills and knowledge. And you have to make it past the age of 18. Starting from that very day, my grandmother taught me all kinds of mystical arts every single day. And this continued until I turned 17. When my grandmother suddenly disappeared without any warning, I searched every single corner of the entire village. But in the end, I found my grandmother lying inside a coffin in our own home. Her eyes were tightly shut. Her face was completely drained of all color. I thought she had already passed away peacefully. But then my grandmother suddenly opened her mouth and asked me, "Xiao Wu, how old are you this year?" I was completely startled by her question, but I still quickly answered, "Grandma, I was born on September 9th, and I just turned 17 years old today." After hearing what I said, grandmother suddenly sat straight up in the coffin. "That is not correct. You were born in the year of the monkey on September 9th at 9 minutes past 9 o'clock. You already turned 18 years old yesterday." I was a little confused. Had my grandmother finally lost her mind from old age? But then my grandmother let out a strange and eerie laugh. We won, we finally beat them." My grandmother's appearance scared me terribly. What did we win exactly? My grandmother's voice gradually grew louder and more excited. "We tricked the heavens themselves. Xiao Wu, you must remember this carefully. Your life was stolen by me from a golden coffin inside the cave of 10,000 ghosts. I just took a single breath from that coffin. All these years, the life I stole for you has never been able to perfectly merge with your body. That is why you keep getting those corpse spots all over your skin, and before you turned 18 years old. You were destined to face a heavenly punishment, so I deliberately made you 1 year younger. All so I could fool the heavens and help you dodge that punishment." I just stared blankly at my grandmother, completely unable to process so much information all at once. Suddenly, my grandmother's pupils dilated significantly. She grabbed my wrist with a firm grip and stared at me with an intense look. I asked her in confusion, "Grandmother, what are you looking at?" My grandmother stared at the center of my wrist, where a very bright and glaring red fish-shaped mark had appeared. Then she let out a deep, heavy sigh. "Child, your destiny is truly unique and strange. You dodged the heavenly punishment, but now the earthly calamity has arrived. Tonight at midnight, ghostly messengers will come to take your life away." I asked her, not understanding. "Then what should I possibly do?" My grandmother stared at me with a severe and solemn expression. "You need to go back to the village immediately. Go to every single house, kneel down, and give them a proper kowtow. This way, it will represent that our household is in mourning." I didn't dare to think any further about what she meant. My grandmother continued speaking in a cold voice. "After you finish kowtowing, you must ask each family for a single piece of wood from their own coffin, and bring all those pieces back to the coffin shop before the sun goes down." "Grandmother, why do you want other people's funeral wood?" "The rule of the coffin shop is, use the heart, not the mouth. Using wood from other people's coffins will definitely attract all kinds of unclean and evil things." My grandmother just waved her hand dismissively. "Just do exactly as I have told you to do." I went back to the village and kowtowed at every single house. The villagers seemed to already know I had come to ask for coffin wood. Before I could even open my mouth to ask, they each voluntarily took a piece of wood from their own coffins and gave it to me. When I finally got back to the shop, the sky had become incredibly dark and gloomy. The black clouds above looked like demons ready to swallow the entire shop whole. Seeing that I had returned, my grandmother quickly sat up from inside her coffin. "Xiao Wu, the ghostly messengers will be arriving very soon. You must use the coffin wood you brought back to build a coffin for yourself tonight. I have no other special requirements, as long as it doesn't leak air or let in any light." I was a little confused. "Grandmother, working on a coffin late at night will bring evil spirits to your door. Are you sure you are not mistaken about this?" My grandmother did not answer my question. She continued speaking. "After you finish making the coffin, you must kowtow 3 times, and then place my body carefully inside that coffin. The coffin nails should only be driven in halfway. Do you understand what I am saying?" Looking at my grandmother's serious face, I nodded my head without even thinking about it. My grandmother's face became even paler than before. "Remember, you must finish making the coffin before 12 o'clock midnight. No matter what noises you hear outside during that time, you absolutely cannot open the door. And you cannot let anyone know that you are making a coffin. Otherwise, everything we have done will be for nothing. Do you clearly understand me?" I quickly nodded my head in response. "Grandson, I have remembered everything. But what should I do if the ghostly messengers come looking for me tonight?" My grandmother suddenly spread her arms wide open and shouted with intense excitement and fervor, "Extreme Yang gives birth to Yin, and Extreme Yin gives birth to Yang. with wood from 100 homes forming a coffin. Your lifespan shall match the heavens themselves. I looked at her with complete confusion. What on earth did my grandmother mean by that? Before I could even process what was happening, my grandmother's body suddenly stiffened and fell straight backward into her coffin. I snapped back to reality and screamed out in utter heartbreak. Then, suddenly, from the pile of coffin wood I had brought back, a huge white snake over 10 meters long burst out and began kowtowing repeatedly in the direction of my grandmother. I was so shocked by this bizarre and eerie scene that I couldn't even speak. But when I looked more closely, that white snake had vanished completely. Just as I was about to start searching for where the white snake had gone, my grandmother's voice suddenly echoed inside my mind. "Child, there is no more time to waste. Hurry up and make that coffin." I whipped my head around and looked behind me. But there was nothing there except my grandmother's body lying in the coffin. Although I found this very strange, I didn't dare waste another single moment. I picked up my tools and started making the coffin. I had no idea how much time had passed, when suddenly a knocking sound came from outside the door. I was just about to ask who it was, when I remembered my grandmother's final instructions before she passed. So I pretended not to hear anything, and continued working on the coffin. Then, a young girl's voice came from outside. "Xiao Wu, it's me, Zhang Yinger. Please open the door quickly." When I heard that name, all the blood in my body started flowing much faster. She was my secret crush, the girl of my dreams. But because my family made coffins for a living, she had never once looked at me with any respect. Then Zhang Yinger's voice came again from outside the door. "Xiao Wu, don't you have feelings for me? Just let me come inside. I promise I will let you do whatever you want with me." Her words made my heart race with wild thoughts. But the more she acted like this, the more I knew I absolutely could not open that door. Suddenly, Zhang Yinger's voice outside carried a note of genuine fear. "Xiao Wu, I am begging you, please just let me inside. These creatures outside are going to eat me alive." My heart skipped a beat. Could there really be ghosts and monsters outside trying to harm her? I put down my tools and crept slowly and quietly toward the front door. Peeking through the crack in the door, I saw Zhang Yinger wearing just a thin white tank top, standing right outside the shop, her face filled with panic and terror. She kept glancing nervously over her shoulder, and behind her stood a dense crowd of dark, shadowy figures. I could tell at a single glance that those things outside were definitely not living people. But were they here for me, or for Zhang Yinger? Just at that moment, Zhang Yinger spotted me looking through the crack. "Zhu Xiaowu, do you see all those dead people standing at your door? They all came here for me. Please open the door and let me hide inside for a little while." I suddenly remembered what my grandmother had always taught me. You cannot casually interfere in other people's karma. If I let Zhang Yinger come inside, that would mean accepting her negative energy, and then I would have to face the revenge of all those ghosts outside. After thinking it through, I turned around and walked back into the room, and continued working on the coffin. Finally, I finished hammering in the last board just before 12 o'clock. After kowtowing 3 times, I placed my grandmother's body inside the coffin. I was just about to hammer on the lid when a gust of cold, eerie wind blew the window wide open. A flattened, crushed human face appeared in the window with a sinister look. "Young man, is that a freshly made coffin right there?" I remembered my grandmother's words clearly. "I cannot let anyone know that I am making a coffin here." So I quickly came up with a clever lie and said, "That is correct. I just finished making this piece of furniture." The crushed ghost outside curled the corner of its mouth into a sly grin. "Working on a coffin late at night means inviting ghosts to come through your window. So I am coming inside now." I let out a cold laugh and asked him, "You are trespassing on private property. Aren't you afraid the 6 household gods will destroy you for this?" The crushed ghost was stunned for a moment. Then it said with a mocking laugh, "By admitting you are making a coffin late at night, you are inviting me to come inside. The household gods will not harm me for that. When did I ever say I was making a coffin? From beginning to end, I only said I was making a piece of furniture." The smile on the crushed ghost's face slowly turned stiff and frozen. It was just about to turn around and run away, when a flash of white light struck it, and it instantly turned into nothing and vanished completely. Just at that exact moment, the clock on the wall began to chime. It was 12 o'clock midnight. A flash of lightning streaked across the sky outside. I saw 2 tall, thin human silhouettes reflected on the paper window. On top of those figures' heads were 2 tall conical hats. This is the black and white ghostly messengers. I felt an overwhelming pressure bearing down on me. My legs started trembling uncontrollably. And just then, a pale, ghostly hand grabbed me and pulled me into the cypress wood coffin I had just finished making. What I found extremely strange was, the inside of the coffin was completely empty. My grandmother's body had mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Before I even had a chance to process what was happening, the coffin lid slammed shut with a loud thud, and I heard the sound of someone hammering nails into the coffin from the outside. My world instantly turned pitch black and silent. All I could hear was the sound of coffin nails being driven into the wood. From the force of the hammering, I knew that the person outside was none other than my grandmother. But why was she personally nailing me shut inside this coffin? As the very last coffin nail was hammered in, a massive serpent coiled itself tightly around my entire body, giving me a very warm and comforting feeling. But in the very next second, the coffin lid was ripped open from above. The black and white ghostly messengers stared down at me with their pale, dead faces. "Zhu Xiaowu, this place does not belong to you. Come along with us now." As soon as they finished speaking, that massive python burst out of the coffin. The 2 messengers stepped back and steadied themselves. "How dare you act so recklessly while we are conducting official business?" At that moment, my grandmother walked over. "Honorable messengers, my grandson's natural lifespan has not yet been exhausted. If you dare to forcibly take her away from here, this old woman will never let the matter rest." The black and white messengers stared at my grandmother with cold, icy eyes. "Zhou Xiaowu died 18 years ago, with just you and this little snake. You have no power to stop us from doing our duty." My grandmother took out a bronze bagua mirror and shone it on my body. In the mirror, the 3 flames of my yang energy were blazing up strongly. The black and white messengers looked genuinely surprised. Old woman, you dare to steal another person's lifespan. Aren't you afraid of suffering a heavenly punishment for this? My grandmother let out a cold snort. That is none of your concern. My grandson's natural lifespan has not run out. Neither of you will take her anywhere today. The black and white messengers exchanged a glance, and then simultaneously reached their hands out toward me, grabbing my soul and pulling me toward the door. Outside the door stood a dense crowd of corpses, all wearing burial shrouds. The yin energy radiating from their bodies was just as strong as that of the black and white messengers. My grandmother let out another cold laugh. If you do not release my grandson right now, do not blame this old woman for being unpleasant. No sooner had she spoken than that giant python lunged fiercely at the messengers. The black and white messengers quickly scrambled backward, and then dissolved into light and vanished completely. My soul instantly snapped back into my physical body. When I woke up, I was already drenched in cold sweat. Grandmother, have they finally left for good? My grandmother stared at me silently for a moment. Child, your earthly calamity has not yet been lifted. For the next 3 years, there will be a small calamity, and in 9 years, a great calamity. My heart sank with despair. Grandmother, what exactly should I do? My grandmother let out a heavy sigh. For your earthly calamity to finally disappear, you must first figure out your true origins, and find out whose life you are actually living. The more she spoke, the more confused I became. What exactly am I supposed to do? My grandmother stared at me with a severe and serious face. Do you remember what I told you before about your life? That I stole it from a golden coffin inside the Cave of 10,000 Ghosts. Legend has it that several hundred years ago, a Taoist master in purple robes sealed an evil dragon inside that very coffin. But before he completed the seal, he seemed to see something inside that golden coffin, something that made him willingly sacrifice his own life and be buried alive along with the evil dragon. I looked at my grandmother with confusion. So you were saying, there are 2 lives inside that golden coffin. Then whose life did I actually receive? My grandmother sighed deeply. That is something I do not know either. You can only figure out your true origins by yourself. Only then can you completely eliminate this earthly calamity. My time here is very limited now. There are a few things I need to tell you. First, as soon as you hear the rooster crow, go back to the village and find 8 strong and sturdy men to help you dig up your grandfather's coffin. I looked at her with a troubled expression. Digging up my grandfather's grave, how can that be right? But my grandmother did not offer any further explanation. Remember, set out as soon as you hear the rooster crow and open that coffin. Whatever is the very first thing you see inside, you must immediately strike it with a coffin nail. I was completely baffled by her words. The first thing I will definitely see is my grandfather's dead body. How could I possibly bring myself to strike that? My grandmother did not give me any further explanation. She continued speaking. After you strike whatever is inside that coffin, go back to the old family house in the village. There is half a jade pendant hidden on the roof beam. Take it with you to West River City and find the wealthy man named Jin Dashan. Tell him you have come to collect a debt from 20 years ago. I looked at her with a face full of disbelief. Collect a debt? And from a wealthy man no less. My grandmother nodded her head. He started his fortune back in the day, thanks to one of my coffins. After he became wealthy, he gave me that half of the jade pendant and told me that if I ever needed anything, I should bring the pendant to him, and he would spend every penny he had to help me, no matter the cost. I felt a little secretly happy inside, and quickly asked, how much money should we ask him for? My grandmother let out a cold snort. Look at your pitiful ambition. Jin Dashan has no sons or grandsons of his own. He only has an adopted granddaughter living with him. If you could marry that only granddaughter of his, even the messengers of the underworld would not dare to trouble you anymore, and your earthly calamity would also be erased. I was absolutely shocked. What kind of background does Jin Dashan's granddaughter have, that even the underworld is afraid of her? My grandmother sighed heavily. There are too many complicated matters involved in this. I cannot say too much right now. When the time comes for you to marry that Jin family granddaughter, you will naturally understand everything. I still had some doubts in my heart. After all these years, what if their family refuses to pay the debt? Or what if Jin Dashan's granddaughter does not find me worthy of her? My grandmother let out a cold laugh. If the Jin family granddaughter does not find you worthy, then you need to find a way to make her see your worth. If Jin Dashan refuses to pay the debt, then disasters will surely befall his household. You need to help them deal with those calamities as they come. After you handle each one, you ask Jin Dashan if he will agree to your marriage proposal. If after handling 3 calamities, the Jin family still refuses to agree, then do not get involved in any more of their affairs. I was still a little confused. Grandmother, if they are refusing to pay their debt, why should I still help them handle 3 calamities? What exactly are we getting out of this? The corners of my grandmother's mouth curled into a mysterious smile. The more the Jin family owes us, the greater their calamities will become. By the time the 4th calamity strikes, no one except you will be able to solve it. At that point, they will definitely agree to let you marry their granddaughter. But you must remember this carefully. When that moment actually comes, you must refuse their offer. I was completely stunned. Didn't you just say that being with the Jin family's daughter could help me escape the earthly calamity? So why would I refuse in the end? My grandmother could see the confusion in my heart, and explained. A forced melon is never sweet, if it truly comes to that point. You can ask the Jin family daughter for an ancestral mirror instead. I nodded my head. Is this mirror really that powerful? My grandmother gave a faint smile. This mirror was crafted from the bones of a real dragon. It can peer into the secrets of heaven. And of course, it can also reveal your true origins to you. Then you will find out whose life you are really living, and locate the corresponding inheritance. Once you have that, no heavenly punishment, no matter how great, will be able to harm you. My grandmother's words suddenly made everything clear and bright in my mind. And finally, remember this. Before the matters with the Jin family are completely resolved, you must not become intimate with any other woman, and you cannot use your skills to help others with their problems, unless that person possesses a piece of 5-element wood. I was taken aback. What exactly is 5-element wood? 5-element wood is spiritual energy born from yin and yang and the 5 elements. If you can gather 5 pieces of this wood and use them to build a single coffin, you will be able to see your grandmother again. Hearing that I could potentially see my grandmother again, my heart surged with excitement once more. And just at that moment, the sound of a rooster crowing echoed from the distance. My grandmother's body trembled slightly. The way she looked at me suddenly held a trace of reluctant sorrow. A cold, emotionless voice spoke from the shadows outside. Mother Wan, your time has come. Everyone is waiting for you to begin your journey. It was only at this moment that I finally understood. Those dark shadows were not trying to harm Zhang Yinger. They had come to escort my grandmother away. If I had opened the door last night, my grandmother would have been taken away right then, and there would have been no one to help me fight off the black and white messengers. My grandmother looked at me with kind, loving eyes. Child, your grandmother must leave now. Remember this well, human nature is very complicated. Do not trust anyone easily except for yourself. The dark figures at the door all knelt down toward my grandmother. Welcome, Mother Wan. By the time I finally snapped back to my senses, a large amount of funeral paper money was floating in the courtyard, and it vanished along with my grandmother. I fell to my knees and kowtowed in the direction where my grandmother had been. Grandmother, travel safely on your journey. After that, I gathered my tools and prepared to go strike whatever was inside my grandfather's coffin. But just as I reached the door, Zhang Yinger's voice called out to me, Xiaowu, please save me! Won't you please save me? I looked at the 2 black handprints on her neck and knew that a ghostly spirit had taken possession of her body. If she did not get some yang energy to replenish herself, she would definitely die within 3 days. Zhang Yinger reached out and wrapped her arms around me. Xiaowu, please help me. I want you so badly. I could clearly sense that an incredibly powerful yin energy was emanating from Zhang Yinger's body. If I actually slept with her, all that yin energy would transfer directly onto me, and then I would be the one to drop dead. I suddenly tensed my shoulder muscles and sent Zhang Yinger tumbling hard onto the ground. Do not act like this! Zhang Yinger, her face covered in tangled hair, struggled to her feet and happened to end up kneeling right in front of me. I understand now. You want me to seduce you first, do you not? I will help you! I will help you! At this moment, desperate to save her own life, Zhang Yinger seemed to have completely lost her sanity. She reached out her hands to untie my pants. I grabbed her hands firmly and said to her with sharp, serious eyes, Zhang Yinger, I have urgent matters to attend to. I cannot help you. Please, just help me this one time. If you do not give yourself to me, I will die. I let out a cold laugh. If I give myself to you, I will be the one to die. Hearing my answer, Zhang Yinger was stunned for a brief moment. And then she said, Do you not have feelings for me? Is it not right to die for the person you claim to love? I was starting to get annoyed. You are completely insane. Seeing how firm my attitude was, Zhang Yinger suddenly stood up and screamed at me with a face full of twisted fury. Zhu Xiaowu, if you refuse to save my life, I will become a vengeful ghost and haunt you forever. Then I will just turn you into a ghost right now. With that, I grabbed Zhang Yinger's neck and started squeezing with all my might. As I continued to squeeze harder and harder, veins began bulging out on my forehead. Zhang Yinger started to become genuinely terrified. She frantically beat against my hands, begging me to let her go. The moment I finally released my grip, Zhang Yinger crouched on the ground and started crying, trying to gain my sympathy. If you have time to cry here, you should hurry and find a traditional Chinese doctor to treat your condition. You might still have a chance to survive. I offered her that one kind piece of advice. Then, without looking back, I got into the Wuling van parked outside and drove all the way toward the village. As soon as I got out of the van, I ran into Zhou Danyu from the village. He came running over as soon as he saw me. Xiaowu, I heard you came back to the village yesterday to announce a death in the family. Do you need any help from me? The procession of 100 ghosts escorting my grandmother was far too strange and eerie, and she had walked out of the coffin shop all on her own. For a moment, I did not know how to answer his question. I simply said that everything was already taken care of. But I still need you to find 7 other people to help me dig up my grandfather's grave. Zhou Danyu did not ask any further questions, and simply agreed to help. All right, I will go find the people for you right now. You just wait for us at your grandfather's gravesite. When I finally arrived at my grandfather's grave, I took a good, careful look at it. In the past, I did not know much about this kind of thing. But looking at it now, my grandfather's grave was definitely not a simple one. I could not understand why my grandmother wanted me to dig it up. Just as I was thinking, Zhou Danyu arrived with 7 other men. When do you want us to start digging? I took a quick look at the time. It was just past 6 o'clock in the morning. If we started digging right now, we could probably have the grave opened up before 12 o'clock, and also avoid exposing my grandfather's remains to the harsh midday sun. Let me pay my respects first. With that, I lit 3 incense sticks at my grandfather's grave, and kowtowed 3 times. Just at that exact moment, a clear, ethereal voice rang out. Xiaowu, please dig up the coffin quickly. There is no more time to waste. I was stunned for a second, and looked left and right. But besides Danyu and the others in front of my grandfather's grave, there was no woman anywhere in sight. Danyu, did any of you see a woman around here just now? Or hear any strange sounds? Danyu chuckled. We did not see any woman, but on the way up the mountain, we did see a huge rooster. That rooster was absolutely enormous. Its tail feathers were long and incredibly beautiful. I have never seen such a magnificent rooster in my entire life. If we caught it and made some soup. The man beside him, Li Ergu, kindly warned him. Danyu, your drool is starting to come out. Seeing Zhou Danyu acting this way, I just shook my head helplessly. I had a strange feeling that the girl's cry for help I just heard had something to do with my grandfather's coffin. So I quickly told them to start digging. Li Ergu, who was more cautious, asked me, Tell us first about how deep should we dig? We do not want to accidentally damage your grandfather's coffin. While we are digging it up, I pinched my fingers together to calculate, muttering to myself as I did the calculations. Based on the shape of this mountain, my grandfather's coffin should be buried at exactly 3 feet and 3 inches deep. Dig down to 3 feet and 2 inches and then stop. After that, I will need you to clear away the rest of the dirt with your hands. After Li Ergu used a stone to mark the depth on his shovel, they started digging up my grandfather's grave. These 8 men had all worked as grave diggers in the village before, so digging up a grave was a simple task for them. I stared intently at the dirt being dug out of the grave. The quality of the dirt is the best way to determine if a burial site is auspicious or not. At first, the dirt they dug out was yellow. But after going down another 3 inches, the yellow dirt gradually turned into a dark, blackish brown. Looking at that blackish brown burial soil, my eyes suddenly widened in shock. This is a sign of great misfortune.
There is definitely something seriously wrong with my grandfather's grave.
As soon as I thought of this, I quickly shouted down to Zhou Danyu and the others who were in the pit. Get out of there, now hurry. The moment my voice fell, that clear young girl's voice rang out again. Xiao Wu, have you forgotten what your grandmother told you? Do not stop digging. There is no time left. Dig faster, hurry. The girl's words reminded me of my duty. Seeing Zhou Xiaowu about to climb out of the pit, I urged them on. Do not stop, keep digging. The men exchanged confused glances with each other. Danyu looked at me with confusion and asked, Didn't you just tell us to get out? So why are you telling us to keep digging now? Should we dig or should we climb out? Dig and dig fast. I stared hard at that blackish-brown burial soil, and at the same time I pulled out a Luban ruler that my grandmother had passed down to me, and gripped it tightly, staring intently at the situation inside the grave. With me urging them on, the 8 men sped up their digging. Very soon, my grandfather's coffin was completely uncovered. Zhou Danyu stared with wide, surprised eyes and asked, Did your grandfather die a violent death? Why is he using a black coffin? I had already noticed the coffin sticking out of the dirt pile. This coffin was black with a hint of red, which meant that my grandfather's coffin had originally been red, and the black color had been stained by the surrounding evil energy. With such a high accumulation of snow, how could there be so much evil energy here? Suddenly, Zhou Danyu let out a surprised cry. Brother, why is there a hole right here? I followed Danyu's gaze. And sure enough, right next to my grandfather's coffin, there was a small black hole about the size of a fist. It was pitch black inside with no visible bottom. My scalp started to tingle with fear. This evil energy was clearly coming from that hole, and it was clearly a man-made phenomenon. This meant that someone had tampered with my grandfather's grave, just as I was deep in thought. Zhou Danyu suddenly shouted, There is a copper coin right here. I picked it up and examined it carefully. It had the words Zhang Yu Tong Bao inscribed on it. This was a type of copper coin I had never seen before. It likely had a great deal to do with the person who had bored through my grandfather's grave. I put the copper coin away safely, and watched as the 8 men prepared to open the coffin. Suddenly the coffin began to shake violently, as if something inside was trying to burst out. Li Ergu's face turned deathly pale as he looked at me. Zhu Xiaowu, your grandfather is not going to turn into a zombie, is he? No, I started to say. Zhou Danyu cut me off. You have been watching too many zombie movies. There is no such thing as ghosts in this world. We need to believe in science. No sooner had he finished speaking than a loud pounding sound came from inside the coffin. With all my years of experience working with wood, the force behind that sound was definitely not something a living person could produce.